everybody for being here. My name is Michelle Verne. I am the president of Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley. We are an affiliate of Our Revolution, and I'm so happy to be co-hosting this event today, along with Coral, with LCIP. And I'm so thankful for everybody to share your afternoon with us. This is the first time that I've ever ran a independent candidate forum, and I've ever even been to one. So I'm hoping that this is successful and that we can have more in the future, and hopefully maybe do one in person before the election. So we'll get started with introducing our sponsoring organizations, and then give them 1 minute to do an introduction. And then we'll move on to the candidates speak for, Ida's here now, for about a minute and a half. And then we're going to do a panelist Q&A type of thing, where we will have the guests ask the panelists questions and then go from there. And hopefully, if they're questioned, they can all answer the same question that someone asked, and we can move in that direction. I guess I'll get started with Feel the Burn. Like I said, I'm from Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley. We've been an organization for about 6.5 years. We used to be a Democratic club, but pulled out of the party last year. We're a nonpartisan, volunteer-based social justice organization serving the San Fernando Valley and Los Angeles communities. We're proud to be an affiliate of Our Revolution, the largest grassroots organization in the country, founded by Senator Bernie Sanders back in 2016. Our work centers on 3 key strategies. 1, combining action with organization, uniting people-powered groups to fight corporate-driven politics. 2, empowering our communities through political education, teach-ins, and mutual aid about the systems that shape our everyday lives. 3, supporting only people-powered candidates. We endorse candidates who take no corporate money, and that align with our core values. And those values are putting people before profits, getting money out of politics, fighting for racial, social, and economic justice, single-payer healthcare for all, climate and environmental justice, labor rights, protecting election integrity, and defending LGBTQIA rights, and more. We'd love for you to join us, donate or get involved, and I'll drop a link in the chat that can tell you all about us. And then I'll move on to give it to Coral. Are you going to be the one to introduce?
For LSIP, Connie has agreed to give.
Okay.
Connie, so introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Connie White. I personally am a longtime political activist in and around the Los Angeles community, as well as nationally and internationally. With LSIP, I am a member of the Continuations Committee, and LSIP is Labor and Community for an Independent Party. And we are a group, I guess basically we're like a coalition of organizations and individuals. We are comprised of political activists and community activists, political organizations, actually political parties like UPP, which is a Black political party in Maryland, and NAIP, which is a Black political party in Pennsylvania, and groups, trade union activists from different political backgrounds. And basically, we have come together with 2 purposes in mind. We have a statement of purpose, and I'll put our website link in the chat when I'm finished, so that you can take a look at our statement of purpose. As well, our statement of purpose basically outlines what our objectives are. Our main 2 objectives are: 1, that we want to promote what we call labor and community coalitions or assemblies with the purpose of promoting and running independent labor community candidates at a local and a state level around a platform that embraces workers and communities' pressing demands. Our explicit aim in this is to advance the effort to build a mass working class party that is rooted in unions, in youth, and in communities of the oppressed, with the objective that we will build and support principled unity with national liberation movements of Black people and other oppressed nationalities within US borders in their community and electoral campaigns. Our second point of unity, something that's really important in this in terms of the labor community coalitions is we envision those in as building blocks to a mass-based working class political party. So we are not, LSIP is, we do not consider ourselves the political party, but we consider ourselves a vehicle for promoting the organizing of these labor community coalitions as a base for building a national mass-based political party. And also, what's important about these labor community coalitions that we think is different is that the platforms of these independent candidates that would come out of the coalitions, out of the labor community assemblies, need to be discussed and approved by the labor community assemblies, and that the candidates must be answerable to these assemblies. We have too long witnessed the two-party system, the Republicans and Democrats, where everything is top down and people go into the Democratic Party without, or the Republican Party, and then they don't adhere to the platform that would advocate for the working class. Our second point of unity, I'll be finishing in just a minute. Our second point of unity is to advocate within the unions for what caucuses that will promote breaking with the two-party system, and that is breaking with the Democratic and the Republican parties. Thank you.
And next, I believe, Gina, did you want to give a brief introduction for Healthcare for Us?
Hi, sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. My apologies for being in the car. I'm doing triple duty today. So food distro, action. Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Viola. I am the co-chair of Healthcare for Us. We are an organization committed to seeing the passage of a single-payer healthcare bill here in California. And also, of course, we do, support Medicare for All as a national movement, but we firmly believe that as California goes, the country will follow. We have Canada to point to as an example for that. So as an organization that has been working what I call an inside game for many, many years, to see the passage of a beautifully written bill by the California Nurses Association, right? We have a CalCare bill, we have a single payer healthcare bill, we have lobbied legislators, we have shown up at CADEM, we have made all the phone calls, we have canvassed, we have done everything we can through the California legislature to get this bill passed. And I think we're deeply understanding that the betrayal of the Democratic Party is the #1 proponent of seeing this bill passed. So that's why we're signing on to stuff like this. We need to support candidates that are willing and brave enough to run outside the duopoly. That is going to be the future. It's not going to happen inside the Democratic Party. Folks, take a look at what happened last week with AB 715. This is a bill that went through the Senate and the Assembly with not one single no vote. Not one person was brave enough to vote no on an education bill that all of the education unions opposed. So we have our work cut out for us. And as somebody who ran for mayor outside the parties, I can tell you how vital and important these forums are for candidates to be able to get their messaging out. So we are honored to be here today. We are thrilled that you are hosting this, and we like to see more of this moving forward. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Gina. Do we have anyone here, Coral, do you know, to speak for any of the other
Yeah,
sponsoring?
Erica, would you want to speak for Welga LA Activist?
Hi, everyone. So I'll be really brief. My name is Erica Alvarez. I am a teacher and I am with UTLA. I'm here representing our labor union and also Huelga LA Activists. So Huelga LA Activists was the result of the first strike in past the 80s, right? Where we've been fighting for fair union contracts. As of recent, if you all don't know, our healthcare is under attack, where it would mean $1,000 out of my paycheck monthly to pay for my own healthcare, and a 2% raise the first year, 2% raise the following year, totaling of 4%, which doesn't even scratch the surface at covering that $1,000. So, Huelga LA Activists basically works in formation with other coalitions to go on ahead and elect candidates that believe in socialist organizations like education, like all of the services that our schools provide, and it fights for our teachers and our students and all of our communities. So we endorse candidates regardless of party, depending on their ability to go on ahead and not take charter lobby money and not, and that's my son in the background, and not to basically sell out our communities. So I'm here today to hear you all out. I definitely believe in what you're all doing.
Let's see. Is any other sponsoring org here? I feel like my internet is going, but I'm on the LAN cable, so I don't understand.
Yeah, mine glitched for a second too.
Anyone from the California National Party here like to speak on that? I think
Yes, hi. I mean, I'm also Sean Forbes. I'm running for governor, but I can, of course,
That's-
speak for the party.
Great.
I'm the chair of the California National Party. Our whole basis is that we are for the independence of California from the federal government. Our whole point is that we agree on so many issues that are happening right now that you guys are talking about, but we have a totally different solution where we need to get away from the federal government at all costs. Newsweek back in July of 2025 had a poll that was actually done. They promoted a poll that was actually done by the Independent California Institute, which is an allied think tank of us, where 44% of Californians would vote tomorrow for independence from the federal government. So our group is to represent those interests of the 44% and also push forward progressive ideas. For example, too, we want to establish a California Permanent Fund, which is basically universal basic income. We want to launch a National Endowment of the Arts for the California Republic, which would be basically helping out all the independent artists and creative people inside LA and outside throughout California to actually make sure that we have our own film community that's actually independent of the mass media organizations and also all the major companies. We wish to also convene a California Constitutional Convention so that we can actually have more third parties inside the legislature. We want to have regions to be states within the state. We want to have more government efficiency and public financing for our elections. And also we want to put forward, even before independence, the idea of something like the Recourse Act that's talked about in New York. What they want to do is take back the federal tax money they send out. We want the same thing. I don't know if you remember, Gavin Newsom talked about $83 billion is sent to red states, and he was asking to pull back that money. We want to actually make that happen. We don't want it to be an empty threat. We want that $83 billion, which can be used for, again, a single-payer healthcare system in California overnight. And finally, also, too, we do want to make sure, of course, that CalCare actually gets put into effect. I do understand the concern that the Democrats have always stabbed in the back of that movement, and we want to actually make that get across the finish line. So thank you for your time.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Is anyone from the Harriet Tubman Center here? Or the Peace and Freedom Party? And yeah, please feel free to put these links in the chat. I'm hoping that people will hear something they like, click the link and get involved. So I will speak. The last organization that's sponsoring is Socialist Organizer, of which I am a member. Socialist Organizer is also a founding member of LSIP, and it is a revolutionary Trotskyist organization, but the focus being on a transition method, which focuses on building a labor party as a transition. To socialism, and building united fronts on working class lines with anyone on the things we agree on, right? Not everybody has to be a socialist to work on building a labor party and we're fighting for social justice. And now when we're facing a fascist regime coming to power, we need as much united front working class power and formations as possible. So we're really glad to also be in this fight with all of you.
Everyone, I can speak as an officer of the Peace and Freedom Party. I'm also a candidate, but the Peace and Freedom Party is California's largest socialist party on the ballot. It has its roots in the anti-Vietnam War movement, and it has run progressive candidates ever since, anti-war candidates, socialist candidates, and in the process of Peace and Freedom Party, running these candidates, it became a socialist organization. So we stand against imperialism, against endless wars. We deserve that. We believe that housing is a human right, as is healthcare and education, and that we should grant amnesty to all immigrants. And part and parcel to this is also the fight against racism, which the capitalist system uses to keep us divided. So that's the Peace and Freedom Party, but I'll be speaking more later.
Thank you so much.
I need to
Are
send.
we, are we allowed to ask questions now or no?
Yeah,
I
Coral,
think
do you think we have a few minutes to ask for people? to ask-
So we haven't done the candidate part yet. So if people have questions, maybe we should do the candidate.
About,
Like-
yeah, but I meant about organization. Does anybody have any questions about any of the organizations at all that you heard?
Yeah, I do.
Sure.
Go for it.
Well, as for peace and freedom, I was just curious. Like, I'm totally for how do you call it? A financial system that, like a political financial system that is within California. However, obviously we're not there yet. So unfortunately, we're still dependent on this need of raising money. So I'm just curious, how is the Peace and Freedom Party doing in terms of finances, and what can we do to support growth there?
Sure. I don't have a figure right off the top of my head of like how much we're doing, but I can say that we're doing much better than in recent decades. We have initiated like more serious fundraising efforts, but I mean, you bring up a great point that currently we don't have publicly funded elections yet. And until we get there, we do need to raise funds for us to be able to run viable candidates that people believe have a chance at winning. So thankfully, we have been really putting in a lot of stimulus, like through our different chapters across the state, and then also as a statewide initiative to raise funds for the Peace and Freedom Party. We have like a small selection of like shirts that we sell, literature, things like that to raise money. But really, we need one of the things that we do through the campaigns is raise funds for the party so that it can retain its ballot status. The Peace and Freedom Party is always under attack. We almost lost our ballot status recently, and that's another big area of work for third parties, especially.
Thank you. Yeah, let's get onto the candidates, and then even if there's questions for the orgs, then we can come back to that. But thank you.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, who do you think should go first? I think Lauren Collin, running for Congress in District 34. If you want to go ahead and speak for about a minute and a half, we'll give everybody about a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Coral, did you want to keep time on that?
That sounds
right.
great. Thank you, Michelle. Hi,
No
everyone.
problem, thanks.
My name is Lauren Collin, and I am running for Congress in California 34. I am an independent candidate, and I've been an independent my whole life. It is time to destroy the two-party system. There's a theory to power to running as an independent, which is to deny both parties a majority in every legislative body across the country. That includes the House of Representatives. If we wake up on November 4th, 2026, to 215 Republicans and 215 Democrats and 5 legitimate independents, we get our House back overnight. So that is one of the reasons I am running, or as an independent. I'm also running for the personal reason of I want to be free. And while I have freedom in my mind, I know that in my society, I do not have freedom until all of us have freedom. And it is paramount that we work daily and diligently until every single one of us is free. I'm also running because I've been a worker since I was 16 years old. And since I was 16 years old, I've been upset that, hey, I paid more in taxes than the wealthy do from my wages versus their wealth. And it is time to stop that. And I'm running on the 5 guarantees. A living wage that pays at the minimum. Every job, it doesn't matter what the job is, but a minimum livable wage that allows the worker dignity, the dignity that comes afforded to buy your own clothes, to feed yourself and house yourself. Also for tax-funded public health care, for tax-funded public education that covers Americans at every age, because we should never stop learning. And if you miss learning at an early age, you shouldn't be denied it at a later age. Additionally, to make sure that the wealthy pay their fair share, if not more than their fair share, by completely redoing our tax code. And ultimately, why are we doing this? So that each of us can live our life as we see fit without interference from the government or anyone else. And finally, I'll say I'm very excited to be at this roundtable and part of this conversation with all of these independent groups and organizations and independent-minded people. And yes, it is going to take all of us to do that work. I will drop the link to my website and you can volunteer, you can donate, you can sign up for the newsletter. Even if you're not here in California 34, there'll be opportunities for digital outreach and digital volunteering. And I look forward to your support and to answering your questions today.
Thank you so much.
Next, Ida, did you want to go ahead? Yeah,
Sure.
Ida, is it Ashuri?
Ida Ashuri. Ida Ashuri, actually.
Running for LA City Attorney. Thanks so
Yeah.
much for being here.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sorry, it was a struggle being here actually because I'm barely getting over the flu. I still kind of have it still, so excuse me for if I have to take a sip or or anything. So, thank you for having me. I want to first thank you for the opportunity to tell you about myself. I'm a human rights attorney. I'm an immigrant, an activist, a woman of color, and I'm running for LA City Attorney because I know how powerful this office is and how much good could come for the city if it was led by someone who had the experience and courage to hold the powerful accountable and support the marginalized. As an immigrant raised by a single mom, I grew up seeing the injustices my mom experienced. Seeing her push through these difficulties inspired me to fight for the marginalized communities. I still remember sitting outside the courtroom when my mom was fighting to get back the wages her employer stole from her. And I still remember taking the bus to go to the immigration court with my mom in downtown Los Angeles. Now I have been a lawyer for 10 years and I get to be in the courtroom fighting for immigrants and workers. I decided to become a lawyer because I wanted to help people. I began as an immigration attorney and advised immigration judges at the Los Angeles Immigration Court. Then I worked at the city attorney's office. It's there that I was able to see firsthand how the office needed to be improved. It was disorganized and lacked effective leadership. As a criminal prosecutor at the time, I saw how the ingredients of lack of organization and leadership made a recipe for increased racial profiling and criminalization of poverty. I also work with domestic violence victims who were overlooked as the office focused on prosecuting other more vulnerable community members, and they weren't getting the attention they needed. I have also been a community organizer and activist for even longer than I've been a lawyer, and I think that experience can be just as strong of as an asset in this job. I've organized rallies and teach-ins and connected directly with my community. I first started with working with the Bus Riders Union to increase transit. I work with Communities for a Better Environment to stop the reopening of an oil refinery in Norwalk, and with Not in Our Name to oppose the UN's invasion of Iraq and the rise of the surveillance and deportation of Muslims and ICE raids under Bush. And now, unfortunately, we're in the same position that we were in 20 years ago. But this experience will help me prepare our city for these this new road we're chartering. Also, just a year out of law school, I used that activist experience to oppose Chevron's application to revise this permit and oppose them from getting a blank check to expand pollution in the South Bay while I was still working in the immigration court. The city attorney's office desperately needs new leadership. Someone who has experience to address the problems we are facing now, and someone who is a champion of the people, not real estate lobbyists or politicians. Heidi closed the family violence unit that actually prosecuted domestic violence cases and crimes against children. I would want to reopen this office and actually hire social workers to help victims get the support they needed because domestic violence is actually a leading cause of homelessness right now in our city. When I worked at the city attorney's office, I actually was able to also advise the city on a number of issues regarding the first Trump presidency, including a program that helped fund immigration representation, which was unfortunately recently defunded, and as well as drafting an ordinance to oppose a religious registry that I incorporated strict data sharing restrictions in that ordinance. Afterwards, I've most recently worked as a housing rights attorney, and I assisted tenants facing eviction as well as slum conditions in their homes. While I was working at a nonprofit at the time, I could see that they were not able to do enough because of their limited capacity. But this was the actual city attorney's job. In cities like Oakland and San Francisco and even New York, they proudly share on their websites that they've gone after so many different landlords that have refused to make repairs and held them accountable. But in the city of LA, the Heidi actually closed a code enforcement unit that prosecuted slum conditions, and she hasn't filed any cases regarding these issues. I would reopen this office and expand it to include tenant harassment issues as well.
If you could start, sorry, we're a little over time. If you could just start to try to.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
In fact, Heidi has pretty much slowed or shut down the city's office. So in some, I was actually about to get to the end. In my whole life, I fought for workers, I fought for immigrants, and I fought for those who don't have a voice, as I have my whole life. And as city attorney, I will represent the people of Los Angeles, not the corporations or the politicians. Please support my campaign. You can go to ida4la.com because this is a campaign run by, for, and for the people just like you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I hate being the time person. I apologize. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thanks for coming, even though you don't feel well. Yeah, it's something is going around, and I'm trying to stay away from people right now because I don't want to get it. Does not look or sound good at all. Coral, what did you want to go next?
Sure. Yeah, let's go. My name is Coral Wheeler. I'm an assistant professor of physics and astronomy at Cal Poly Pomona, and I'm also a department representative in the California Faculty Association. Prior to that, when I was a graduate student and postdoc, or a graduate student in the UC system, I was a member and Southern Vice President of the United Auto Workers. Back then, it was Local 2865, the Union for the Teaching Assistants, Graders, and Tutors, and it's now expanded, and I helped create the postdoc union. So I've been a long time labor activist as well. I even dropped out of grad school or left with my master's degree before coming back and finishing. So I'm on the Continuations Committee of Labor and Community for an Independent Party, and I'm a resident of the city of Azusa now, just for 2 years. I rent. I'm going to be honest, I am still learning about the city of Azusa. My purpose for running for city council, primarily, I do intend to and hope to and intend to win, but as a member of LSIP, I want to build labor and community coalitions as a part of my campaign. So Connie talked about our two-pronged strategy, the first of which is to grow candidacies out of and basically a simultaneously running of the campaign and building of these organs of democracy that will meet collectively, hopefully as they get larger, elect representatives and candidates will come out of them. And my platform, the platform that I will ultimately run with as an Azusa City Council candidate, and then hold to, will be decided collectively and democratically by this labor and community coalition. And so I know that for one thing, I can say that Azusa is not a sanctuary city. So I'm going to make that one of my primary campaigns. And I'm sure, as we go and recruit and talk to people and build the Labor Community Assembly, that will be one of the many things I will be fighting for. But what we already did is we successfully ran 2 candidates for neighborhood council in Atwater Village. What we found is just going door to door, holding potlucks, having little events in the park. We actually met people in their homes who wanted to get involved in the campaign, who are now part of LSIP in Atwater Village. And so as we grow and walk door to door in my community, I assume I'll find out what the people of Azusa locally want. But I'll say, and then I'm also running out of time, is that what I will say is that nationally, what we hope is that from the very literal grassroots, from the bottom up, we'll run local and then statewide and then and congressional candidates as we build the organs of democracy that will ultimately hold them accountable. And also just be a way for people to get involved in politics and to, yes, as someone said earlier, crush the 2-party system. Because if you're paying any attention to the news, things are escalating rapidly. It's getting scarier by the day. We need each other. We need to band together to stop what's coming. And even if we don't agree on everything, because we're leftists, that's what we do. We need to work together on the things we agree on. So if you want to get involved in building a labor community assembly in your area, hit the website, contact me if you want to come organize in Azusa. We'll be going door to door. Thank you.
Thanks, Coral. Did you want to push it to?
Yeah, let's
Lo?
finish up the candidates before we take questions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hold your questions and we'll have questions for everybody.
Yeah, did you, I guess next push it off to Lalo? Lalo, did you want to go next?
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be around so many incredible candidates, and I'm hearing a lot of points of unity between all of us. My name is Eduardo, but I go by Lalo. I am a public high school teacher. I'm a UTLA teacher. I'm serving on the bargaining team of UTLA as well. And I'm a former firefighter and EMT. I'm running to be California's next insurance commissioner and proudly endorsed by the Peace and Freedom Party. I'm a proud socialist. My parents actually arrived here from Morelia, Michoacan, and they would always tell me in my upbringing, like, you have your English, you have your papers, go forward, sal adelante, or get ahead in life, get what we couldn't. They were able to achieve homeownership, the part of the American dream, but that is getting increasingly more and more harder to get for a lot of people. And even those who do own homes, for them, it's becoming more and more unsustainable. And a big part of that is the housing crisis in the state and in the country. And because we're just attacked on all sides because of our housing. And that's part of the history of this country, the racist history of this country as well. But insurance is a big part of that as well. In the last couple of years, the insurance industry has held California hostage. They are refusing to write new policies for areas that are more and more fire prone. And then in areas that do go through natural disasters, they're refusing to pay out claims. And I'm actually in Altadena right now, raising funds for the Peace and Freedom Party and my candidacy, because this is where so many people have seen up close the crimes of the insurance executives and of the insurance companies. So far, the current insurance commissioner has done nothing but give the insurance companies what they want, rate hike after rate hike. That's the solution for managing the crisis. But I'm running because I don't believe that we need a better manager of a corrupt system. I'm running because I intend to abolish the corrupt system. I'm running to abolish the insurance companies, to build that working class movement that involves our labor unions, our tenants unions, but that can ultimately provide for a single payer healthcare system, a publicly funded catastrophe property insurance system. All of that is possible, especially in the 4th in the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. We have a $4 trillion economy, but we don't see that. We don't see that in our classrooms. We don't see that after a natural disaster. So it's time to take that back. We need to take the reins, the political and economic power, put them in the hands of working people, everyday people like you and I, so that we can actually guarantee these things that we need and guarantee the dignity for our families.
Thank you so much.
Yes, loved it. I think next we have Sean.
Yes, hi again. I'm Sean Forbes. I'm the chair of the California National Party, but I'm also running for governor. I just want to say I'm not going to go down our platform so much because we all are in agreement here. We all are actually on the same page. I don't think that there's anything that we have any striking disagreements with. I would just say that the difference between the California National Party and other parties is that the only solution for us is secession. There is no chance for reform in the federal government. There's no chance for anything ever changing. It's not going to happen. We've seen it multiple times. I mean, peace and freedom has been running on the same great ideas since 1968. There hasn't been that much change. It's actually gone backwards in some ways. Bernie's been around for decades. We're going backwards. We need to be independent. California is the lifeboat from the U.S. Titanic. We need to get off. We need to change things. First thing I would do, though, as governor, before independence, however, is that we do need to make sure the $83 billion gets back. We need to somehow get that out. It's already been talked about. Soft secession is a topic in the media. We need to get the $83 billion back so we can actually have CalCare. Otherwise, it's never going to happen because the state is already running deficits left and right because we're sending out money to people who hate us. California tax dollars is being used right now to build memorials for Charlie Kirk in Oklahoma. That is happening. They are a donor state. They need our money, or excuse me, they're a taker state. They need our money. We're a donor state. We're giving it to them. They're using it for the wrong purposes. We need to take care of our own community. One of the other things that I'd be running on is that we do need to build some sort of Cal defense. And what I mean by that is that we need to have a network to actually monitor and actually try to obstruct within the letter of the law as much as we could at this point, the activities of ICE. And what I propose is that we expand the State Guard to be a network monitoring the activities of ICE. The State Guard is separate from the National Guard. It can never be nationalized. The president can't take it over. Right now, it says 900 unpaid volunteers. I say we expand that, we monitor their activities, and we make sure that there's an actual state of emergency to protect the people of California. That's the job of governor. That's the first thing we need to do. And at the same time, we're doing all this. I believe we do need to have a new state constitutional convention to have a new state constitution where we do guarantee housing as a human right. We do guarantee healthcare as a human right. Again, we are bigger or just below Germany's economy. We need to reorganize ourselves. We should be run more like Canada in the sense that there's provinces and a federalism where the areas can actually take care of their own local needs instead of having to go to only 80 assemblymen in Sacramento. We need real change here. And as governor, I'm going to make sure that we actually protect the community and get out of this whole mess because, again, there's nothing different in any of our platforms whatsoever, but I believe that the only solution we do have is to get out while we still can. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's all. That was it, right?
Yeah, 5 candidates. So it's now Q&A time. So if we could go in order of people put up their hands and you can ask a question to one candidate, but if another candidate would also like to answer that question, we'll also allow and just stick to the same question until everyone who's wanted to answer that question has answered. So you can answer a question for all candidates, for one candidate, but someone else might also answer your question if they have an answer for it. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to put the timer up on the meeting. Yeah, that probably would have been better. And I'm sorry for anyone I had to cut off, and I do apologize, but we are trying to keep it to 2 minutes. So I was only cutting people off at like 5. So I'm giving a little leeway. So I'm still trying to figure out the timer. If anyone else can, let me know. But yeah, put your hand up and ask a question, and then we'll give the candidates a chance to answer.
I think first we have Dennis.
Thank you. Coral, you broadsided me in a good way. I wasn't expecting to hear from anybody running for Azusa City Council, where I live. A quick question, then maybe a longer question. What district are you running in, and what do you think are some of the challenges for running in Azusa?
Yeah, thank you. I have only recently decided to run. I'm in District 1. And nice. It seems like the biggest district. I don't know. It's definitely the best. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And so I'm brand new. I'm not brand new to Azusa. I'm not sure. When I looked at a recording of a city council meeting, the only thing they were talking about was buying more cop cars. So it seems like that might, I don't know if that was just a random city council that talked about that. So yeah, I feel like, I think, yeah, I think there will be a challenge in that it seems, since it isn't a sanctuary city and we're proudly talking about their cop vehicles, that we're going to have some people who support that kind of thing. The trick is finding the ones that want something different, and mobilizing them and activating them and getting the roughly tens of thousands of votes I think that'll take to win. And we have till next year. So I think if we get started now, if we're already started, but the more we build now and get people on the ground and do it locally, I'd like to think we have a shot. And I've never run for office before, but I know how to talk. I mean, I'm a professor, so I don't mind. I know how to talk to people and have a conversation. And I feel like what worked in Atwater Village, and it was different. It was much lower, it was a neighborhood council, but worked there is asking the people what they wanted to change, right? The idea is to form a party and a candidates that actually make people's lives better. And so finding out in the neighborhoods what people are talking, what people need, what people want me to change, and then working on that. I think that'll be a challenge, but I hope that that'll make people more excited and we can overcome the challenges of having a relatively brand new person running for city council. And I'm excited to work with you. So let's link up and let's get out there. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yay, that's great news, Dennis, that we got you hooked up with someone in your area. Awesome. Stephanie, you're next.
Yeah, my question is towards the organizations and the candidates. Like, I know that I strongly feel that gerrymandering is also what got us in this mess. So I was just wondering what people thought on Prop 50 and if there's anything being done in regards to that.
I'll
Was
happily
that
take a
directed
shot.
at anyone in particular, or?
Yeah, Lauren can go first. I'll go second.
Thank you for the great question. I absolutely support Prop 50. This is about power, and if the Republicans want to steal more power, and if you look at how gerrymandering has happened across the country, the 12 states that get an F are all red states. They've already stolen the seats. I think the only thing that was a shame, and again, shows the absolute weakness and fecklessness of the Democratic Party, is that they only went after 5 seats instead of 9. That said, and if you read my platform, no, it's time to nationally and at the state level and at the local level get rid of gerrymandering everywhere. And if it takes a constitutional amendment to do it, then it takes an amendment to do it. But it should just take laws. So we should just pass laws after we approve Prop 50. It is time to get rid of gerrymandering. And that's just a tiny part of the overall voting equation, which really comes down to every citizen, the second you turn 18, should have an affirmative and automatic right to vote in every single election across the country. And we should also have more representation in the House of Representatives, in the state houses, in the Assembly and the state legislature. In the city of LA, we should not have 15 council districts. And the LA City Commission that's meeting right now, the Reform Commission, is not going to propose to dilute its own power. So we, the people, are going to have to take that power by making it so it's easier to vote, it's automatic to vote, and ultimately getting rid of gerrymandering. But in the short term, when it comes to power and our democracy and the voices of the people, I'm absolutely in favor of Prop 50. Also, it doesn't change one line of my district.
So if it's okay if I go next?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm for Prop 50, but I think it is a necessary evil. I mean, you're gerrymandering, you're screwing around with democracy. Let's be honest. I mean, yes, it is a bulwark against Trump encroaching on our system. So yes, in the short term, absolutely. But this is the bad DNA of the United States system already, because after this, it's going to be an arms race. They're going to gerrymander. I know Lauren wants to have a constitutional amendment. I would hope for that, but I just never would believe it actually would happen anytime soon. Because unless we have, we're banking on Democrats having a sweep of Democratic Socialists taking Congress, it's never going to happen. There's not going to be any chance. It's always going to be a gerrymander situation. The only way to expand our democracy is here, starting in California. I do believe, again, we do need to have that constitutional convention for the state. Lauren was absolutely right. I mean, we need to have more city council seats. We need to have more board of supervisor seats. There's only like 5 per 16 million people. I mean, this is ridiculously small. The assembly itself is terribly small. The assembly, or I should say the legislature as a whole, is actually smaller than the state of Iowa's. And again, we have about 40 million people. We have the size of Canada. So we need to have a new system here where, again, we expand the legislature to, I would say like the size of Parliament in Canada. And we do have regions and localities that become basically states within the state so that people have more local control about what's happening in their lives. But right now, again, this is this really bad red flag that we have to look at where, yeah, it's going to be a gerrymander war until kingdom come. And then when the election night is over in 2026, neither side's going to say it's very legitimate. It was gerrymandered. It was screwed up. Something happened, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go right to another drama queen situation. So that's my thought on it.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, those kind of are my thoughts too.
Here,
Maya, I believe
I'm just running for city council, but I want to just say, yeah, I think it's signaling like the downfall of our democratic system, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sort of, I agree with what was said. We got to do what we got to do, but yeah, it doesn't go well when we're just messing with the borders and rigging the system. So
yeah.
Could I add two, Michelle?
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also support Prop 50 in that, we have to oppose the right wing and racist attack on our state. But I just want to share about how we view like how changes actually happen in this country, whether it was like the civil rights movement or the first Reconstruction after the Civil War. It was really rooted in in the grassroots and people taking to the streets in a mass movement that was multinational and that had clear demands. That's how we've been able to get things like even something like the $15 an hour minimum wage. No single politician brought that up first. It was the people who brought it up first. It was SEIU. And then it caught on, and it became a demand so large that the politicians could not ignore it. So that's really how change happens in this country, is by building a mass movement. I think all of us have an opportunity in this election cycle to start to grow and do our contribution to building that mass movement that is for the working people of this country and not for the billionaires.
Did anyone else have any comments on that question? No. Maya, did you want to?
Oh, sorry, I had my hand raised. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to also point out that I think there's a lot of focus on the federal level, but I feel like we have to have a strong focus as well on the local level. And there's a lot of gerrymandering that happens in just the city of LA with like Nury Martinez and Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon. We had that whole situation, and now we're stuck with these maps that were very obviously used to dilute the power of renters. And we now have a charter reform commission, but it's very slowly, in a way, purposely slowly rolling out. The people being appointed, it's not a very democratic process. I was a finalist for the commission, but I didn't have the connections to get on or be selected. It's really about who you know, and so it's an incredibly important process because we don't have enough seats. We haven't changed the city council in the 1930s. And this completely, changes how we vote in the city. And obviously, when you run for a city-led position, it's not as much of an impact. But the fact that certain renters have less of a voice on the city because our council members are not as representative of them, has an impact on the entire city as a whole, because then you have less accountability. So we definitely need to expand our city council and have more checks on the city council and better supervision over our city departments, because they seem to also, run on their own without much checks on them. So that's also a way to get involved in terms of gerrymandering, is the Charter Reform Commission if you're in Los Angeles. So I highly recommend that.
Thank you so much, Ida. Maya, I believe you're next.
Sure. Hi, my name is Maya Ram. I'm actually a member of the California National Party, but I have a question that is for all candidates from all the different parties. Especially about my question is about how do you plan to implement CalCare? We plan to implement CalCare, especially in the face of the loss of federal funding in the last few months.
Who would like to go first on that? That's a very, very great question, and one that I will say that we are Feel the Burn San Fernando Valley, and we are having I'm just going to throw this in here, an event on October 25th that's going to be based and centered on healthcare for all, where we're going to ask candidates to come speak specifically on this issue. So thanks for asking, Maya. And who would be the first person who'd like to talk about CalCare and how we get it?
I would like to. Yeah, it's right up my alley. For a candidate for insurance commissioner, the insurance commissioner does, even though they don't have legislative power, the Department of Insurance is a huge department. I mean, it has 1,400 people, a budget of like $354 million. So that in and of itself can become a huge, basically like a huge committee to investigate and to see what it would take to actually implement CalCare, single payer system. The thing is, the CNA has already done much of it. The bill is already there. So what's missing is the political power, the political will, really, from the politicians, because to them it's not that big enough of a deal. It's not that people are not raising their voice enough to them for them to feel forced to actually give us that concession. As I've mentioned earlier, I mean, the concession of something like the New Deal, which is the first time that we got unemployment insurance. That happened because millions of Americans were in the streets in hundreds of cities that were practically on fire. And they had to give us that concession so that the system would bend so as to not break. Ultimately, we're for a complete reconstruction of the whole system. But even under the capitalist system, we can still have single payer healthcare. We can look at the example of Oregon. Oregon is on track to be one of the first states to implement a single payer system. They had a popular vote in 2023, which established a commission that is now investigating and basically making recommendations to the legislature so that they will implement a single payer system in 2027. And that's Little Oregon. In California, where we have Silicon Valley, we have basically about 120 billionaires who own more wealth than the bottom 40% of the rest of the state. I mean, it wouldn't take that much. All we have to do is tax those billionaires and seize what is ours. We don't have to take crumbs when we've been paying for bread. We don't need to take crumbs. We can take the whole bakery.
Totally agreed. Does anybody else want to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I think Lalo, again, there's no reason why we couldn't have it in California. And actually, again, the Democratic Party outside Newsom actually kind of was at that point, if I remember my history right. CalCare was pretty close to it, and Newsom shut it down. So I think that I would go with that first, but actually, well, I would go with that almost immediately. But first, I would make sure that all the hospitals that are being cut off at the knees by the big beautiful bill, that they get restored funding. I mean, this is an example. Inyo County has lost half of its hospital capacity. They only had 2 hospitals to begin with. They're down to 1. And again, that's an area that is Paiute, Shoshone, Indigenous is out there. They're going to lose a lot. Of course, again, the rest of the population obviously Also, too, again, it is a big part of our economy when it comes to tourism. I mean, that's a corridor that goes up to the Sierras, right? And if you're going to be, like the thousands of people that travel during the summer, winter time for hiking, skiing, or whatever, well, you're down to one hospital. So that's going to draw off a lot of people who do not want to tour there anymore because they will have no way to actually survive the circumstances. I was told by our external communications coordinator, Ash Sider, who is a fire captain in Inyo County, that people will now die because of this. So that's just one example. There's a laundry list, actually, I was given of other hospitals that are going to shut down in rural areas, or again, in urban areas, are going to be under capacity too. And we all know that, again, in urban areas, we know what population is going to be hit the hardest, right in the face. So I would do, again, day 1, 0 hours governors to make sure that we restore the funding to those places that immediately lost it, because there's also the issue too, when you shut down a hospital, you lose all the infrastructure, the people move out, you're not going to be able to rehire people right away. So you have to go as fast as you can to get those people back, get the system set up as it was just before, which obviously wasn't that great, but you have to make sure we're not starting at negative. We can go back to at least 0. And then afterwards, I would go for CalCare immediately, put that through. But then also I would couple that with, again, a recourse act, like what they're trying to do in New York, where we draw back that $83 billion that gets sent to red states that absolutely hate California. Because again, that is our big cushion, that is our big safety net. And that'll make sure that there'll be no question of oh, can we afford this? Or we're going to have to keep tinkering, that people just have bare bones healthcare. No, we have the money. We're just heading in the wrong direction.
I can pick that up if it's cool.
Yeah.
So I'm running for federal office. So the federal office would not be able to pass CalCare, but a couple things. One is, I think because we live in a Democratic machine and a Republican machine, that when people get elected to office, they feel like they're never allowed to talk about the other levels. If you've made your way from the local to the state to the federal, and you're now representative, you don't talk about the things at the state and the city anymore. I think that's bogus. So I would absolutely use the bully pulpit that I have to argue to all of California and to the people of California 34 why CalCare is such an important step. Also, I think sometimes that gets lost in things like it's free healthcare, or we're just going to tax the rich, is actually losing the benefits of what we really mean by tax-funded public healthcare. That's what this is. This is your money funding your healthcare. And the truth is that it's cheaper and better than the private healthcare you get now. And you already know this. You know that your premiums, your deductibles, your co-pays, your co-insurance. What is co-insurance? I'm already paying for insurance, right? We have to start making the better actual argument about how this materially changes your life. And the really quick forward way to say that, and I hope all of the people here kind of maybe take this away for themselves, when you talk about healthcare and tax-funded public healthcare, is it will be cheaper and better. And if done right, not only will it be cheaper and better, it will be like in Japan and Germany, cradle to grave, and cost 1/3 less and be better, right? And why do you care if the CEO of Cigna or United Health is a multimillionaire? You shouldn't. You should care about your family's health and your well-being. The other thing I want to talk about is at the federal level, I will absolutely be pushing for tax-funded public healthcare at the national level. But second to that is the common theme here is that we know that we are a giving state. We send at the moment, and for years, for decades now, right now, $83 billion more than we get back. I remember last election, Jimmy Gomez, my opponent, sent out one of his flyers bragging about all the money he got back for California 34. But what it didn't say was that it was 20% short, because we were shorted 20% of every dollar that we sent back. I will never vote for a budget in Congress that does not make sure that every dollar California sends to the federal government, it gets back. And that is the type of change that we need. And as an independent, because I'm not tied to any party, I can do that. And that's what I will do. So that's how I will hope to bring CalCare and ultimately tax-funded public healthcare to California first and foremost, which is our priority. And ultimately, if we're still a nation, to everyone in the nation.
I'll just add to that. Thank you. I agree with everything. I love what's been said. I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this group. I want to say that I think that anything we're going to win, that anything significant like this that we're going to win, as everyone has said and is said in the chat, is going to require a mass movement. And so building working class power, whether we end up getting it legislatively or not, it's going to require people on the ground taking action, and collective action with our neighbors, with other people in California, with other people in the country. And so primarily what I'm going to be focusing on is building that collective power through the labor and community coalitions. But I also want to, and Connie mentioned this, our second prong is working within labor unions. Labor unions are fighting for healthcare for all. They're fighting for single payer, but many of them are also, or all, pretty much all of them at the leadership level, are tied at the hip to the Democratic Party. And so one of the other things we work on is, for those of us that are in unions, working within those unions to build caucuses that call on our union leadership to break with the Democratic Party. And the fight for healthcare, as was also pointed out in the chat, is one thing that the Democrats will not do. And so pushing on that, I think, is a good way to get people to see that if we want to get something like this, it's not going to be through one of the two major parties, and we're going to have to build it on our own and fight for it on our own.
So I just want to add one other thing, because we are in California, and during the last progressive movement, now 100 plus years ago, we do have direct democracy. I could see CalCare going to the ballot and winning at the ballot, because I don't think the legislature will ever do it. So ultimately, if that's where these minds go, and our energy and our power goes, it should go to the ballot.
So much. Oh my God, it's all great. I agree, Lauren. I actually think we should push both things, push the ballot, and that'll force legislature to be pushed at the same time. That's what I think. But and in saying that, I'll just say that my big thing and my question, it's a big question for all of you, and has always been a question on my mind, and has really every day challenged me to keep doing this, is money out of politics. I just don't think that anything is going to happen unless we get money out of politics, and there is a mass movement to do that. And I think that might require a full-on general strike. I just think that might be the only way to do it. It's just so crazy. But and I definitely believe that CalCare is a way to bring California together to create a movement, to fight for something that we all agree that we need right now. Next, I believe Linda, you had a question?
Well, I'm in Massachusetts, and I just want to give a little tribute to what you're doing. I think this is fantastic and exciting. And I'm a member of Labor and Community for an Independent Party, which is national group. I'm in Massachusetts. And LSIP initiated a national conference in the summer that brought together all the left groups that are interested in independent political action and laying the basis for a real working class party. And we had Workers Strike Back, we had Jill Stein and the Green Rainbow Party, we had trade unionists, we had 2 or 3 Black independent parties, and put on a conference. I put a link in the chat, so please copy it. It was an all-day conference, or most of the day anyway, and you can take each panel to listen to separately, so you don't have to be online all day listening to this conference. But it was really exciting. Had a panel on Black liberation, panel on the trade unions, panel on running independent campaigns. And we'd like to invite you all to join this coalition, because we feel that all the ballot restrictions, all the discrimination against independent campaigns cannot be changed or fought by each little group. We have to have a national coordinated unity to take on all these questions. And our next event is a webinar on ballot access and related issues and the traps that most left candidates fall into that has led to us being not as effective as we could be. So if you want to be on our mailing list, please put your name in the chat and we will notify you of meetings and our events. And the next webinar should be on October 19th, and you would get the link for that webinar, but the link for the conference is in the chat. And just hats off to what you're doing. I think it's fantastic, and let's all work together. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. That's amazing. Thanks. Thanks for coming out. It's about 7 where you're at. So thank you so much for joining us. David, I believe you have.
Hi, everyone. My question's mainly for Sean. Why would we want to call for a convention rather than initiate the constitutional ballot referenda or just the normal amend and add approach?
So the problem is that the judiciary is very strict about actually how you put things into the propositions or initiatives. So they always have to be what's called like the one subject rule. So what that means is that, you know, if you want to have proportional representation, right, you have to explain that in 3 steps. And that's basically the crux of why they don't like those kind of propositions. The court will strike that down, even if it somehow got all the way to the ballot. So the reason why you want to have a constitutional convention is that you can tackle all these things at once. Like, for example, if you want to have a public financed election system, that could be in that constitution and be approved as a new whole constitution. Same thing with, you know, giving more power to the regions. Same thing about stronger transparency laws. I mean, just ways so, you know, have ballot access, all these things that are not currently part of our political landscape. It's better to do it to a new constitutional convention instead of just trying to, you know, lob out one proposition, which again, it has to be very specifically focused on just the one subject. So that's the idea of a constitutional convention. The other thing too is that with the constitutional convention, you can have more input that instead of just like, you know, maybe some well-heeled donors or anything like that. So people are very rich and, you know, well off, and they can, you know, afford to indulge in donations and, you know, kind of petty politics. If you have this constitutional convention, you would have a constituent assembly, right? So that's basically the people who write up the new constitution. We can have basically grand juries from all the counties that are representative of the people of the counties, actually representative of their local populations. And these grand juries can come together as one, again, giant convention, focus on, you know, the propositions that the CMP has put together, vote on that, and then the state, the population of the state of California can actually vote on that constitution, and we can have a new constitution. And again, we don't really talk about the state constitution too much at all, but again, it has been changed at least twice in history, so there's no reason why we couldn't do it a third time and actually make it worthwhile and actually something better. So that's the idea, instead of just doing like this little like initiatives or propositions that you throw in. So I hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you.
Did anyone else want to answer that? And then we have a question in the chat. Okay, let me see. Can anyone find? I think I lost it. The question in the chat. Here. Specifically for Ida, but then anyone else can answer after. What are your commitments to protecting immigrants in our state? Asked by Erica before she left.
I think it says aside from Ida.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. Aside from Ida. Okay. I did totally read that wrong. And then we had some answers in the chat, but would anyone like to give a vocal answer as well?
I was trying to get to Erica before she bounced, but she bounced.
Yes. Well, this is recorded, so she'll see your answer now.
Great. Yeah, so immigration is one of the few things that is truly in the federal government's purview. And it's something that we've gotten wrong since the 1880s with Chinese Exclusion Act. And we haven't necessarily done much better. And there's actually, it's one of the, sorry to sad, disappointing things. With the corner of Spring Street and Cesar Chavez, there's a whole bunch of bricks in the ground that have some of the better parts of our history, but some of the worst parts of our history. And it talks about the Bracero program and Operation Wetback and the massacres in Chinatown and the Chinese Exclusion Act. We are a country of immigrants. And there's also obviously there are native peoples. And there's people whose families were brought here against their will. But the bottom line is that we are all human beings. We all have human rights and natural rights. And it doesn't matter where you think those natural rights come from, straight from nature or from God. We all have natural rights. And it is our job to understand where the Constitution was written clearly, despite the Supreme Court. When it says the persons in the border, it means persons have due process. Persons, not citizens, not white Americans, persons. We have to get back to some form of the rule of law where we all have due process. Beyond that, immigration is, if you want America to grow economically, we need more immigrants. Bottom line, this is an economic decision. Removing immigrants from this country, slowing down immigration, either or is the fastest way to crash our economy, which, by the way, is the goal of Project 2025. They're on their way to achieving the goal. So what I would do is, first and foremost, to the 11 to 12 million undocumented Americans, and I don't use that word lightly, undocumented Americans, those 11 to 12 million people need immediate documentation. To all of the immigrants, which is about 20 to 25 million who have green cards, and well, after this, they all need the assurance that their green card will quickly lead them to a pathway to citizenship. And I think sometimes what's also lost when we talk about immigration is there really are migrant workers who do come and they want to work the fields during the season and they want to go home and they don't have a lot of rights. And they should have a full set of rights where their visa ensures that they will not be abused, that they get a minimum livable wage, just like anybody else, where they also get healthcare. And ultimately, if they want to turn that work visa after one season, they're like, you know what, I want to stay, then it needs to become a green card. And ultimately, all the things like the H-1B visa program and all that, and all the lotteries just need to go. There needs to be no lotteries. We need to, if capital and ideas and people all need to be able to flow across a border. And I believe absolutely in an open border in the sense that when you come to this country, however you got here, wherever you're from, all we ask is you give us your name, where you're coming from, and let us do a background check. And if it all checks out, and even if you've done time somewhere else, but you have done your time, right? Like once you've done your time anywhere, we can have a whole discussion about our prisons later. You are welcome here. And as long as you follow the rules, you're welcome here. And if you become a citizen, if you break the rules before you become a citizen, you will probably get deported. But that's the right thing. If you become a citizen and break the rules, well, probably end up in one of our prisons. But we should also talk about that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah, actually, Ida, do you want to go first since you wanted to kind of answer that too? It seems in the chat.
Yeah, you don't mind because I'm kind of fading right here.
Sure.
Flu and all. Well, I have like a pretty extensive background working in immigration. Before even law school, I mean, I got a master's in international affairs and specializing in migrants' rights and been, an activist on immigrant rights as well as working on policy in Washington, D.C. and advocating for more protections for migrant workers in the United Nations through different international organizations. One thing, we do have an international convention that protects asylees, but we don't have any international protections for migrant workers, and they're often very susceptible to human rights violations. And you see that in United States or other countries, like for instance, when they were rebuilding New Orleans, they brought in South Asian immigrants and treated them very poorly, considering them, migrant workers to rebuild the city. So I think having my experience is really important in any position. But when I was working in the city attorney's office before, again, I had advised on this program that helps fund immigration representation. And this is something that was recently defunded, and this is something that I could help advise city council on refunding this program. They recently passed a measure to basically expand the convention center, which is some more than $2.5 billion, I think, devoted to this, which is, a ridiculous sum of money when we should really be investing in our communities. And so, on top of this, we can also do other things like a big problem in the city of LA right now is surveillance. And this is something that's been documented by Cal Matters and 404 Media, that LAPD has been giving ICE data from different automatic license plate readers that are being run by a private organization called Flock. And you don't hear, again, I think a big problem is we don't have, a lot of independent media, and a lot of people aren't holding our electeds to account, but we're not hearing anything about this in the city hall from the mayor or whatnot. But we shouldn't be funding or putting up these privately run cameras in our communities. And this is something that I would advise against as a city attorney. City attorney also approves all of the contracts in the city. And Heidi is using this as a shield and a sword because she's trying to prevent affordable housing from being built by slowing down contracts or refusing to sign contracts. So in a way, she's kind of like acting like Trump in the sense of like, by going so far to the right, she's showing how people on the left can work. We can also use that to our benefit to empower our communities. And so I think it's really important that we do not have mass surveillance in our communities. I think it's really important we fund things that actually improve our communities rather than, a boondoggle. So, another thing that we can do in the city attorney's office is motions to vacate. And this is something that was happening during Trump's first term and was happening under Obama when I was an immigration attorney, is basically vacating criminal prosecution so that way there's no immigration consequences. And that's also something that the city attorney can do. And that's also a benefit we can do from other people who are facing the circumstances of their prosecutions after they've already served their time, such as not being able to apply for benefits or get special housing. And I think that that's something we should be looking into. So again, the city attorney has a lot more power, I feel like, than people really know, because there isn't enough, obviously there's so many levels of government and politics in our United States. I mean, I've lived in other countries and people are like, please explain to me our US government system, because I have no idea. It's such a quagmire. So, but again, I think it's a really important office that can have so much power to change our city for the better. So I did want to chime in for that. Thanks.
Awesome.
So my position first is that to really protect our immigrant community, again, we have to get out. I mean, that is always going to be the kind of North Star for what we think about what's happening. But that being said, as governor, again, I would, like I mentioned before, I expand, this idea called Cal Defense. It was Cal Defense is an idea that's also about tackling climate change, trying to put more money into the Cal Fire, Office of Emergency Services, etc. Because we have these massive wildfires. We had that mudslide just at Oak Glen just the other day. So again, we're dealing with so many things at once that we almost kind of need, lack of a better term, kind of our own little defense budget for these matters. And I would expand the State Guard to be a network of monitoring agents of ICE activities. The mayor of Paris, California, for example, I think it was about a few weeks ago, alerted his entire community that ICE was in the area. And I think that the state needs to start alerting all the areas and all the communities what ICE movements are. And the State Guard can actually do that. Again, to be unarmed, this isn't, some kind of crazy fantasy. It's just basically networking agents that tell people, hey, listen, this is where ICE is at. This is what they're doing. This is what we've seen. It shouldn't be up to, local organizations like church groups or, again, like the ICE Block app people. It should be up to them. It should be actually a statewide thing. And it should be something where the governor could declare the state of emergency because we have to face the fact there is armed government kidnapping gangs in our state, and they're acting with whatever authority. Plus, also too, Newsom did finally sign the No Secret Police Act, but there's not really a chance that the federal government's going to respect that. I mean, it's probably going to get kicked to the Supreme Court, maybe, but have we seen anything about ICE? They have never followed court orders. So why we expect that that's going to be a solution for anything? So we need to be more aggressive about this. Also, as a state governor, I would make sure that we do something, along the lines of malicious compliance, really try to actually get back at ICE in the sense of, okay, so ICE has offices and buildings. Well, CHP has to do maintenance checks every 5 feet. We do something where they try to move their vans out. Well, we got to pull it over because there's a measles outbreak in Texas. You're bringing people from out of the state. We got to make sure their health is actually there. All these different kind of inventive ways we can actually do something to combat the menace of ICE. And that's the only thing I think a governor should be doing right now. I mean, that should be the focus of anyone. The other thing I would say at the same time, too, is that there was a legal defense fund that Newsom put together that has to be expanded. We do need to hire more lawyers. We do need to actually gum up the works of the legal machinery. We can do this. Again, we're the 4th largest economy in the world. I think we can afford more lawyers. So I think that's the best way we can do things, to really kind of make sure that we take care of our immigrant community. There's also been some talk in the California National Party about setting up a state residency, almost kind of like a state citizenship. For example, the Independent California Institute actually had that as one of their questions in the poll, and most Californians support some idea of state residency, or again, lack of a better term, state citizenship. But again, the devil's in the details how we would do that. We don't want to obviously have a database of all our immigrants in one place so that, federal government or DOJ can come in and actually see who's who. But we need to have some way that people are facilitated into our society a lot faster and easier, just like Lauren was talking about.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, I think Lalo had to go, so I'm the only one left. So if I don't mind giving a quick answer. I know we're almost out of time. I mentioned, I'm just learning about what are the issues in Azusa, and I know they unfortunately love their police apparently very much, but I'm sure there's people in there, who care about public safety, and unidentified masked men swooping in and kidnapping people off the streets is not public safety. And so in addition to pushing for Azusa to be a sanctuary city, I think a lot of the ideas that I've heard that, in terms of even going farther and fighting against these kidnappers, I think would be something that a lot of people in Azusa would be interested in. And so among other things, I think, yeah, there's a lot we can do at the city level. They're using the excuse of LA being a sanctuary city as to why they had to swoop into businesses anyway. And so there's pressure on places to make fewer sanctuary cities, but I think we can move in the right direction and have at a minimum, having our police, who just got fancy new license plate detectors. Dennis just sent me a link. So having them not share that with ICE. I also want to just make sure it gets said, and I'm sorry, Michelle, if you were going to do this, but we want to have another one of these soon and in person and with more candidates. So if you know anyone else who's running for any office in statewide or Southern California, we're trying to keep it somewhat local so that we can share resources and organize together. It's not that, we had someone from Massachusetts. It's not that people can't come, but in terms of candidates in particular, I think having it statewide and more local to Southern California is good. But we want to have an in-person candidate forum. We want it even bigger. More organizations are welcome to join on and co-sponsor. And the idea is to have the orgs and the candidates work together so we can see who, what does it take to be sponsored by an org for a candidate or endorsed or and just get people on the ground helping each other. So please stay tuned and let us know if there are other candidates that you think should be involved, and if your org or some other org wants to be involved. And I'm going to let Michelle add on anything to that and wrap us up. And Olivia, who is able to join us. Yay, Olivia. Olivia's our main organizer. This would not have been possible. Olivia and Michelle, I should say, are the two people who've made this happen. So Olivia, I'm glad you were able to join us.
Hey, Olivia.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry I'm so late.
No problem. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks so much for coming, and this was amazing. And you all give me so much hope, and I'm so glad I've been connected with all of you. And we're all fighting the same system. And if we all come together, I believe we can do this and create a movement to get rid of money in politics and to create a party that works for all of us. Also, again, I put our link tree and our website in the chat. If you want to fill out our endorsement questionnaire, if you're a candidate running and haven't done so, you can go ahead and do that. We will accept any endorsement of anybody who doesn't take any money from corporations and that aligns with our values. And then I would also push, if you are endorsed, push your endorsement to our revolution to have them possibly endorse. Also, again, we're having an event on October 25th. It is surrounding healthcare for all. We are accepting tabling for organizations to table. You can fill out the form. It's under our link tree. For candidates to speak, there's also a form. We only have a certain amount of places, so the faster, the better. We have like 6 more places to table and about 5 more speaking slots. Actually, maybe 4 more, now I think about it. And then, yeah, it should be an amazing event. And we need to start doing events like this all around in all of our communities, inviting all of our communities. I will be going around knocking doors and inviting them to come. The artists that are coming are amazing. The rappers are actually activists, and they're really, really good. I actually met them at an event. I never even knew them before or knew they existed. And they've agreed to come and perform for us at this event. So I'm really excited about it. And I hope you guys can join us. We're also selling tickets, $15. And then $5 off if you fill out a healthcare survey, which is attached to the form, Google form. And with that, I guess I don't have anything.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much for coming. We're recorded this, and I will put it out on our YouTube channel and get it out.